All right, greetings and salutations to everybody out there in YouTube land. I am your host once again, Dan Thornton. I want to thank you all for joining us here today. Lions Talk Live, and you know what? We've got a little bit of news coming out of the Detroit Lions press conference with some of it. Also, with the after the MCDC press conference came out, got a little bit of more information. I want to give a shout out to my brother Tim for providing it. Let's start off with the latter portion of the information before we get into the stuff pertinent from the press conference. There's a whole lot of people, I get it, throw shade at Terrion Arnold. Hey, you know what? He may not be the greatest cornerback in all of NFL history, but it does appear he is becoming in his second year one of the better ones. Since week 4, Lions cornerback Terrion Arnold has allowed a 38.1 passer rating to opposing quarterbacks. That's the second best for anybody in the NFL in that time. Let that sink in for people that think it's Debbie Downer time for Terrion Arnold. I think he's played pretty well this season. Doesn't mean he's been perfect, but perhaps his growing trend, and I always like to say as a coach, the trend is your friend. Maybe that's why the Lions weren't more active at the trade deadline trying to beef up some of their cornerback help. We all know from MCDC's own lips to your ears that Reed is going to be back probably in about 2 to 3 weeks. So with T.A., Amik Robertson, etc., and some others holding it down, Ragheel Singh, Vontae Maddox probably going to be back sooner versus later. Also, maybe the situation for the Detroit Lions secondary is starting to look better and better. No specific word was given out of the press conference about Kirby Joseph, but there are multiple different reports suggesting he could miss another week or two. When he's out, someone else will have to step in and take advantage of that situation. Also, we were talking about it on this morning's show. What's going to happen with the offensive line? We all know Taylor Decker's been fighting through injuries. We know Penei Sewell had some level of injuries. Same with Tate Ratledge this last weekend's game. The Lions did apparently get some good news, and Miles Frazier is going to start his clock today, his 21-day window. We were talking about that in the morning show. Maybe there's a reason why the Lions didn't make some adjustments or trades to the offense, to the defense, to anything in between. It does sound like per MCDC, they did have conversations with teams, just weren't blown away enough to make an actual move. That's as much as we have right now. I'm sure in time we'll get more information from Brad Holmes or Dan Campbell, maybe after the season. What we do know is something a lot of people on the morning show were speculating about. MCDC did confirm. Lions may be throwing some new wrinkles into the offensive line. There's speculation, and albeit that's all it is. Justin Rogers and Dave Burkett, amongst others in attendance today, did ask some questions about the offensive line. MCDC did say they may move some guys around. Speculation that maybe Graham Glasgow goes to left guard, a position he played last year, move somebody else into the center spot. Yodi, MCDC did talk about it. He's been playing pretty well. Maybe they'll ride with him. They're going to do some things, though, today's practice and go from there. It is at least a point to consider that Miles Frazier is going to take some time to get up to speed before you're probably really getting anything out of him. While he is a mauler, anybody who watched him in college, watched him in the draft process, I agree, this guy's got tons of ability, and he can play both guard or tackle. So, again, flexibility being a big plus for him. Is it possible he eventually does get into the starting line for the Detroit Lions? We'll have to wait and see. MCDC, I thought, was pretty spot on with him. You watch him block and how he gets to the second level, so picking up a linebacker or somebody else, maybe a safety, once your initial block happens, he does all that very well. We knew that when the Lions drafted him. Anybody watched videos on him in college saw the same stuff, but it is going to take time to get him ready to play at the NFL. This is a guy who didn't do anything in preseason. This is a guy who hasn't done anything so far this season. So just like Kristen Mahogany a year ago, sorry about that, a year ago, it's going to take him some time to get up to speed, but maybe between him and also mentioned Giovanni Manu being back in maybe a couple weeks, Lions offensive line depth starts looking better and better. What are they going to do with the starting lineup? I think that's the million-dollar question anybody who's a Lions fan has got to ask. It has not looked great in recent weeks, and now that Mahogany is going to be gone for maybe not the full year, but a long time, it does raise some questions. T.A., though, like I was saying earlier, for those just joining the show, he has been, since week 4 in this NFL season, the second best among all NFL cornerbacks when it comes to allowing passer rating his way at just allowing 38.1. Let that sink in. He's had one interception that was secured this year. He had another one, as you guys know, against the Chicago Bears that was wiped away by a Brian Branch penalty. it is what it is. It does seem like Terrion Arnold is starting to grow and develop into one of the better cornerbacks on this team. Maybe we can even say in the NFC. All right, Duke Crew, I got to get out of here pretty quick before I get over to coaching duties myself. So let's just power through some comments real quick. Doug, what's going on? Now you know. David, nice call this morning on Frazier, Coach. Hey, sometimes I mess up against something, right? Looks like you were dead on that. Yeah, I figured since they weren't more active in acquiring people, that's probably a sign, at least in my eyes, that they felt like somebody was coming back sooner versus later. It does sound like per MCDC, you're getting 2 back in the next couple weeks. Lining up, let's just Scooby-Doo this real quick. Frazier starts his 21-day window today. Let's say they bring him back in 2 weeks, not a full 3 weeks. It's probably about the same time Giovanni Manu's back. Don, I keep telling everyone T8 looks good for his second season. To your point, yes. Most quarterbacks struggle as rookies. He's no longer a rookie. I get it. He's missed some time this year because of the injuries. But I think that I always like to say, the trend's your friend. He's not perfect, but he's trending more and more in the way you want to see. Dave, MCDC said they did have some calls. Yeah, some talks on trades. Just didn't go anywhere. Yeah, and, I was talking to a number of you guys during the Lions presser. My opinion, it's just the cost was too high to acquire somebody. They could look at their backups or the people they currently have on the roster and say, we're going to have to give up some, draft capital. We need to be able to see that person is clearly an upgrade, not a slight upgrade. Five Fingers Ready. Campbell seemed way more relaxed today, in your opinion? I would agree. Maybe not the start of the presser, but he gave him a minute or two to get in. I thought he did finally start looking relaxed with the last couple. I know we talked about it. He looked fairly stressed to me. Quit, I think T.A. is trash, but he played legit last game. Yeah, and just go with that, man. Trent is his friend. Let's see, JK, now what? Laughing out loud, and now no one's half the battle. Stephanie, I'm not giving up on the season. It's surprising how many have. It sounds like there are a lot of people. I get it. The loss to the Minnesota Vikings was unexpected. And then when the team didn't make any trades, there's no quote-unquote savior coming in to save the day. I think the Lions feel like they're good in-house. There was somebody in the morning show that I thought had an excellent take. Maybe all these teams are making trades to try to catch up to you. It is possible. Miss Amberly, wouldn't be surprised if Frazier ends up as our center going into next year. Man, that's a thought for sure. Pierce, Coach, I like our theories we discussed in the presser. Yeah, about moving some people around. I know, Pierce, you brought up the trade with Seattle for the backup center. Oh, gosh, JPJ or whatever his acronym is. I think it's just probably the cost to acquire him was more than they were willing to do. Riley, let's go. I like the way you're thinking. Amberly, Stephanie Water, you're not alone. Still lots of same old Lions fans out there. Could be, for sure. JK, as long as we squeeze our way to the playoffs and Super Bowl, that's all that matters to me, 100%. Everybody who's down right now on the team, we get to the playoffs, win some games. Heck, man, if we just make it to the Super Bowl, I think everybody's going to look at the season vastly differently. Riley, Miss Amberly, ironcladly enough, those fans will be tuned in for kickoff on Sunday at Washington. Yeah, I get it, man. We all may be, positive Pete's or Debbie Downers or whatever, but we're all going to watch and cheer the Lions for sure, Riley. I think that's an outstanding point by you. Steve, when we get to the playoffs and win, this will be MCDC's greatest coaching job. You might be right about that. We overcame a ton of situations last year with injury. Obviously, 15-2 is a heck of an achievement. You get to the playoffs, though, and if you win with all the injuries we've had this year and all the adversity we've overcome, then maybe you look at him and say, man, oh, man, he's done a phenomenal job. Him and the coaching staff, the players, etc. Don't give it all to everybody. BTC, let's break down those Lions trades yesterday. Wait, there was none. Exclamation point. Lions are junk for a reason. I would disagree, man. I mean, if your idea of junk is, what have we been the last 4 years? The number 2, number 3 team in the NFL as far as victories. So if trash is being number 3, I guess you and I have just different opinions on it. Pierce, we need offensive line help. That's for sure. If Frazier comes out solid, I would consider that a trade deadline. Yeah, again, I agree with you. Just thought that he was shelved for the year. Hey, looks like he's going to be back pretty quick here. JK agreed. Steve Rogers, Bo, tell me something good. Exclamation point. Tell me that you like it. All right. I like it so far. We talked about it, as you know, Bo, this morning. I thought the Lions didn't make some moves because they just didn't see clear upgrades over what they knew were coming back in. Robert, what's up? Hey, that's a great question and a great show back in the 70s, by the way. Lauren, what's up, Duke Crew? How you doing, Lauren? Marcus, hey, here we go again. Exclamation point. You got it, man. Tell him, Coach Dan. Hey, once in a while I do talk to the mic. So I'm telling you. Dennis, I like him. Me too. I like both of them. JK, good. Now address the offensive line. Thank you. I think it sounds like they're doing that. And they do, to be fair, when you think about it. Now, Pierce, I know you were on it. When you listen to MCDC, if it was me, Taylor Decker be your left, Sewell the right, leave Rat where he's at. I would move Glasgow to left guard. Basically, you'd have last year's offensive line to a certain degree. And then, you got to plug into the center. Why do I want somebody who's newer, maybe a little bit weaker? If you're going to go with somebody there at center, it's easier for the guards to cheat in than it is if you have a weaker guard and asking a tackle to leave somebody, rushing outside and cheat in to help there. It's my opinion, but that's based on my coaching experience too. All right, Lauren, Miles Frazier playing by Philly. That could be possible. I would say probably not, but it is possible for sure. Mary, yes, I like what I'm hearing. Hey, I'm here to help you like it, I guess there, Mary. And good to see you as always. Great offensive line. Men don't get traded. That is accurate. Usually, if you're really good as an offensive lineman, nobody's giving you up because they're just too hard to find. Look at the vast majority of trades yesterday. Those are bulk positions, easier to replenish in the draft or free agency. You know what you don't find a lot of in the draft or free agency? Outstanding offensive linemen. When you find one, you don't let them go. Sort of like, quarterbacks. Robert, growing pains, but the offensive line is getting younger. Yes, they are. Ed Adventures. It took Darius Slay 3 years to become a lockdown. You are right. Man, good to see you, my friend. I feel like I haven't seen you in a hot minute. But I think, I'm not going to say anybody's going to become an all-pro player like Darius Slay. I'm just saying, from my eyes, it doesn't have to be anybody else's opinion. I like TA. I think he's been sound in a lot of things. He is young and growing, but he is getting better, in my opinion. Philosopher, what do you got? Renegade Philosopher, yeah, no need to make a trade. We have a guy that didn't have camp. Any practice, doesn't know the scheme. I don't know if he doesn't know the scheme. I mean, just because he's not practicing doesn't mean you're not learning. That's why you're seeing more and more NCAA teams, or, to be fair, professional teams overseas, even professional teams at the NFL, NBA, MLB level use VR to help teach people things, speed up the learning process. That being said, I don't know if the Lions did any of that, but I am sure they didn't just let him sit on a corner by himself, not learning anything for 2 months. He's probably been learning some stuff while healing and recovering. Either that, or we'd have to say the Lions organizations are the biggest idiots in pro sports, because that would be standard practice for anybody who's injured to still learn, just in a different manner. Big D, it took Slay 5. There you go. Pierce, I'm sorry. What can we really expect from Manu? That's a good question, but if nothing else, if he keeps growing, keep developing, I do think he has developed. I don't think he's ready to start. I think most of us would agree with that, but I do think he's vastly improved over when you drafted him. James, good to hear. I'm glad you like it. Marcus Facts, Robert. All right, Pierce, I would shelve Mahogany. It's going to be pretty close toward the end of the year when he is able to return, if at all. Robert, TA will slay them in year 3. I like the way you're thinking. No flags this week for TA. Hey, if he gets 1 or 2, if you're going to play that much man-to-man and ask him to be physical, it's par for the course, I would say. Riley, Coach Dan is late. I don't know about that, but, at least I'm here talking. How about that? Ranting Q, what's up, Duke Group? Man, talk about another person we haven't seen in a hot second. Good to see you, my friend, as always. JK, on time for Eagles, possibly. Could be accurate. Robert, I'm glad you're doing shows today, because other sportscasters, they have podcasts every day, aren't even on today because they don't know how to talk about the situation. Hey, I do what I can. Doesn't mean everybody's going to agree with me, and nor should you. And not everything I say is right, but, at least I give you my thoughts and opinions. How about that? JK, I agree, Riley. Silent service. Everybody flipping out without knowing the big picture. Laughing out loud. It does happen. Yada, yada, badass. Hey, good person to see. Haven't seen you in a hot second. What up, dope coach? Exclamation point. DC need to fire Johnny immediately if want to have a shot at the Super Bowl. Woo! You might be, I'll put it this way. I got to be a little bit PC, or I don't have to be, but I choose to be. I think John Morton probably understands he's in the scopes right now for a lot of Lions fans. And to be fair, coaches, in my opinion, Dan Campbell's kind of taken a few subtle, thoughts on pressers, pointing out that he thinks that maybe a few things need to be addressed on the offense. Just listen to Coach speak. At least that's stuff I pick up. Robert, in Brad and MCDC, I trust. I like the way you're thinking. Silent service. They made no moves because they know they getting offensive lineman back. Yeah, that could be exactly why. And again, do you, in your opinion, as a coach or whoever you want to be, do you think the person you could acquire is clearly better than the guy you already know? I know MCDC talks about a lot. When you make a trade or sign somebody, You haven't worked with them. You're guessing what they're going to be. Or the guys you already have that you have been working with, you know what they are. Shaheem, hey, look, the negative Nancy's are here. Let's hope not, my friend. JDC, afternoon all, and back at you. Jess, who can say we look good against Minnesota? We have offensive line issues, secondary issues. If you're trying to win the Super Bowl, make no moves better to your team. All I can say is this, in my opinion, and Jesse, doesn't have to be yours, I think the offense and the special teams are mostly what cost us that game. No phase is ever going to be perfect. If that's your desire for a team, I just don't think it's possible. I can't see an NBA team that stops every shot and makes every shot. An NFL team that completes every pass, every run goes for a touchdown, every block is perfect. You get it. There's no such thing as perfection in any level of sports. But the Lions, as poorly as they played, they were in that game. Now you clean some stuff up. I always use the rule, and I know after the Green Bay game, a lot of people came after me, but this is just my opinion as a coach. There's 8 to 12 plays every game that define the game. You win the vast majority of those 8 to 12 plays, you win versus lose. You lose those plays, guess what? You lose. Look back at the Green Bay game. I'd say it's fair to say if you change half of those 8 to 12 plays that didn't go your way, you win. Same with the Minnesota Vikings game. I'm not even going to go into the KC game because I think you guys know my opinion on that. Let's see, Silent Brad also said Manu will be back as well, but later, correct. In about 2 or 3 weeks away, it sounds like. JDC, Cliff Jumpers, stand away from the ledge. I ain't scared. Go Lions with an exclamation point. I like the way you're thinking. David, would they look at Asante Samuel Jr.? Heard he's visiting some teams. If I remember, he's pretty good before injury. Before the injury, I would agree. I know the Green Bay Packers have looked at him. I have not heard anything specifically about the Lions, at least not recently. Masteroff, Arnold is freaking horrible. Well, that might be, but we're going to have a hard time explaining those stats then. How he can be rated the second best among all NFL cornerbacks since week 4. So, I don't know. The stats are fighting our assessment if our assessment is bad. Jennifer, good afternoon. Back at you. The Los Angeles. Lions fans are ridiculous. We didn't make a trade. We are trash. We lost Ragnar and Decker. Is washed because of injuries. Plus, we lost Zeitler to the free agency. We are reloading at our offensive line. People chill. All right, we'll go with that. JK, for real. The daily podcasters and network don't know how to respond to the fans laughing out loud. Wave of emotions. That happens, man. Jennifer, TA is awesome. Exclamation point. He is on the St. Brown podcast today. I'll have to check out the St. Brown podcast today. Dr. Detroit Brad is in the scope also. Yeah, it might be fair, but what coach or GM isn't in the scopes at all times? Just a couple of YouTubers trying to cover for him. Not going to work this time. Exclamation point. All right. Robert, I'm not sure. A pipe. I have the OC Blues. It happens, man. We don't get through first round playoffs. The drums are going to be loud. To your point, Dr. Troy, if you get to the playoffs and lose in the first round for the second straight season, I don't care who you are as a coach. People are going to come for you. Same with the GM. I mean, that's a result of being a coach. Maybe I shouldn't say this, but my team last year, we finished 21 wins, and 3 losses. One in the first game of the year, we won, by a gajillion points. The second game, we lost to one of the top teams in the entire state by a point. And people are up in arms and saying everybody should be fired, blah, blah, blah. So, I mean, that's the nature of sports. People sometimes will react to little things, but I get your point, though. Michael, afternoon, Duke Crew, exclamation point. Oh, yeah, I'll take that. Jess, we had a chance to win. Montgomery fumbled the football, their territory. That hurt. Missed field goal. Yeah, that also did hurt. But we had chances. I agree, Dan. We don't need to panic. No, you need to clean some things up, and health would also help as well. Jim, if the negative people here hate everything this stream is doing, then why root for them? Question mark. Find another team. That's fair enough. Manuel, laughing out loud, told everybody's Morton stunk. I'll go with that. And hey, good to see you, man. It's been a while since I've seen you. JK, if Lions fall short of playoffs, everything shuts down faster than government shut down. If the Lions don't make the playoffs, I think we all get it. There would be massive amount of pressure on all aspects of the organization. And there would be a lot of things that have to be rethought. But we'll have to wait and see. And, personally, I'm hoping we make the playoffs and make a run to the Super Bowl. Mr. Detroit City, keep up the excellent work, Coach Dan and Riley. Exclamation point. Let's go Lions. And thank you for that. Cynthia, thanks for the update. Anytime, my friend. JDC, Detroit Lions rebuilding since 1957. Stay tuned to Coach Day and Lions Talk Live for more updates. Go Lions! Exclamation point. I'm down with that. Robert, how many games before Ben Johnson found his groove? It did take him a few, but he does seem to have the Bears going. All right, guys, I got to get going to the coaching stuff myself. So take care. Enjoy the rest of your day. Do something kind for somebody you don't know. Be a good human being. See you on the next Lions Talk Live. Take care.